Supply chain managers who can get the right part in the right truck at the right time and in the right quantity can kiss that first-time fixed rate goodbye. Supply chain is like an orchestra. It's conducting the purchase, storage, transportation, and management of parts all around the organization. One missed step and the service journey is out of tune and the job gets delayed, or worse, doesn't get completed at all. And that's why in this episode, we're going to take a look at parts research and procurement and how it enables technicians to perform at their best so you can deliver a 5-star service experience. And to do that, I'm bringing back my good friend, Mario Simmons, our VP of Transformation. Mario, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good and really excited to be part of this conversation with you, 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗦, and really interested to share some of the details that our team, the parts procurement team does. So
yes, and I'm really excited to talk about parts procurement because it enables a key stage in the work order life cycle. And, you know, if you don't have the part, you can't fix the equipment most of the time. Mario, can you give us a little bit of what's the scope of, help us define the scope of parts research and procurement in the order to cash work stream. When does it start? When does it end?
So generally you have your technician on site trying to fix an equipment that's broken down or requires maintenance. They identify that, there's a part that needs to be replaced,
right,
and would, place an order. Now, your technician could do that himself and,
right,
place the order for the part procurement or replace part request. But that would, take time because they've got to research, go to the OEM site.
They get their hands on the equipment and do some desk work.
Yeah, essentially, waste time off productive work, right? And, there's a lot of research required these days with, changing parts, changing equipments and things like that. So,
especially if you're in an industry like commercial food equipment, you have tens of thousands of equipment.
And, the parts of these equipments are so slightly different that you could, mistake one part for another and order the wrong part, and therefore create a longer, resolution rate or first-time fixed rate, impact. Therefore, it's important for you to then, have a remote team in the Philippines that are technically sound, trained, and be able to understand what's required, do the job of the researching of the part and procuring and tracking of those part procurement for you. And, that's what we do as our part research and procurement team.
Right, and really here you're emphasizing that the benefit of being able to tap into global workforce brings you an advantage that previously was not available, and that is building maybe a part research and procurement team was just focused on getting parts, the right parts in fast and ordered, and the flexibility tapping into a global workforce enables you. That maybe is not possible with, to do it locally in the US or Australia or UK or some of these markets that we operate in.
Yeah, and it's expensive, right? Because then you have technicians doing that because they are the right people to understand what part is required. And, it's easier to find technicians here who are trained on the same kind of equipments, who have worked and put in hours fixing those equipments, who can do the parts research and procurement for you from your OEMs onshore. So,
because your mindset, Mario, is how can I best utilize my technician? There's only so many technicians. How can I reduce the $5, $10, $15 hour activities that my technician does, so they're only focused on the activity that they're most qualified to do, which is fixing the equipment and nothing else.
Yeah.
Not admin work, not purchasing work, not updating work. The less we can get our technician distracted
away from the job, right? Because otherwise they're spending more time on their tab looking for
and on the phone with the OEMs.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Talking to the technical support or whoever. Yeah.
And they already have schedules, right? They've got schedules that they got to run to, right? They've got the next job to go to.
Especially if you have SLAs, client SLAs, that's critical.
And then, that kind of delays the entire process. Once they identify that there's a part that needs to be replaced, it's best for them to kind of hand it off to the parts research and procurement team who would then kind of, take it from there, research the right part, not just the right part, but the cheapest, because there are so many OEMs offering the same part. How can we kind of, make sure that we get the cheapest and fastest delivered part, right? Because we need to make sure that the part is delivered on time.
So that's interesting, because when you have your technicians procuring the parts, they're not going to spend all their time on the phone, comparing OEMs and, supplier. They're just about to find that first, play part that can
matches their requirement.
Yeah, and just move on. So it drops you away from margins and profits.
And also time, right? Because they wouldn't see which is the one that will be delivered the fastest, right? That will also improve your, time to fix.
Right.
And that's important.
Less than the time it takes to fix the equipment.
That also improves your cash flow, because you are able to complete the job faster and therefore, invoice and collect the asset.
And what I love read about our episodes more is we go deep on one work stream and a specific process and workflow in that work stream, and go deep on it. So when it comes to parts procurement, parts research and procurement, like what are some of the 4 KPIs that you look at to kind of evaluate how are we doing in parts procurement? Are we getting the job done fast, cheap, and with high quality?
Yeah, that's exactly what we measure, right? So we measure how fast, the time to procure.
Okay.
How cheap, which is cost to procure, right? And then we also measure the accuracy, the quality of the equipment being procured, so that there's no rework. So you order
returns and just like studying
and wasting time as well.
And missing SLAs.
So those are your critical.
So let's break down one by one. Let's start with you said time to procure. So why is it important for you to track your time to procure?
So the most important part in the industry for us, for our end customer, is to have the equipment up faster.
Yep.
Right. And if our time to procure is longer, it means they have equipment that's down for a longer period of time, which is non-productive, not getting them the money in, right? And therefore, this is the most critical KPI from the end customer standpoint, because you want the part in faster, you want the equipment fixed faster so that it improves their production.
Makes sense. It not only impacts how fast you complete the job and make the customer happy, but also for your cash flow. So it improves your cash flow. So I get it. So that's pretty good. And then you said cost to procure.
Cost to procure, of course, who wouldn't want it cheaper, right? It impacts your bottom line. You're getting a part for cheaper.
Especially as you make money off of parts, so like parts.
Exactly. So if you're marking up, or if you have a standard cost for a part, right? And if you can reduce costs there, of course it helps your bottom line. So
that makes sense. And then you said order accuracy. What do you mean by order accuracy?
So order accuracy is more about making sure you're not ordering the wrong part.
Right.
Therefore, there are no returns and you don't have the wrong parts, or there could sometimes be cost for returning a part and requesting for a new part. So you're reducing that as well. So making sure that you have the right part ordered is very important. And there's some factors that impact that, right? It's not just, ordering the wrong part. What are the root causes into that, right? You need to kind of get into understanding what essentially causes someone to order the wrong part. Now, for us, it's important because we kind of, keep that as a SLA, and therefore we hire the right people who are technically sound, who understands what part needs to be ordered. Sometimes the technician on the move, and they could enter a wrong part ID. But our technicians understands that, okay, the job order is for a combi oven, but the part that has been requested for is, let's say, for an ice machine, right? They understand, and they wouldn't order the wrong part. They know that there's something wrong here. They reach out to the technician. They say, this is what we saw, and the part that you've ordered is for, an ice machine and not for a combi oven. Is that the right thing? And they would make sure that it's fixed before the part is ordered.
Yeah.
And therefore not have to wait for days and get the wrong part, and then, cause a rework and, returning and ordering a new part. So that's important. The other thing is the communication, right? Constantly interacting with your technicians, with CS, the customer service, who actually placed a job order, to understand if it was, the right equipment that they're fixing. So that's important. Also, training of the parts procurement team on the equipments to know what we constantly fix, and creating our own parts catalog.
Yes, parts catalog update. Yeah,
understanding what are the frequently ordered parts for the machines that we fix for specific clients. So those are important.
And I love that, right? So because all of this, ordering the wrong part is one of the biggest problems that we typically see in supply chain functions, and it all impacts your first time fix rate, right? It delays it increases the number of days to resolve a problem, and your first time fix rate floods, right? Oftentimes you're not able to complete that job on that first fix. So you kind of tackle
potentially also increases your cost roll, right? Because some
these parts absolutely. Yeah,
increases your cost as well.
Yeah, if you have to come back to fix the job. So you kind of tackled the first big problem that you see in parts research and procurement, which is getting the wrong part. What are some of the other issues that you see in parts research and procurement?
So one of that, like we mentioned, is getting the technicians to do their jobs right, and supporting them with a remote parts procurement research team. So the technician can do their job. So, they focus, they are away doing their job, not doing desk job, like you said, or not, wasting time, not being productive. And therefore, our folks are kind of doing the research, getting the right parts for them. And therefore, that's important for us. And so keeping kind of the machine flowing and, smooth, so that, the technicians move from one job order to the next, and they are supported by, previously we spoke about the tech support, parts procurement team. So all of them kind of work together. And once, the part is delivered, the parts procurement team then coordinates with the dispatch team, making sure that the suite is the
other big problem,
is being kind of scheduled, and improves your resolution rate. Otherwise, there are so many parts being ordered that technicians cannot track everything on their dashboard in terms of what
exactly. But sometimes the technician is forced to do it themselves because they don't have that prompt support, and they feel maybe sometimes that the team gets in the way, and sometimes they just have to get it done themselves. So sometimes we see it, the root cause is not having a good parts procurement process, and actually that helps provide a better technician experience when they're going through that process. What are some of the other root causes that has technicians doing the desk work and procuring the parts themselves?
I think like you rightly said, communication is one. Also, not having the confidence that the person procuring the part is
right. They're not technically sound enough to understand what I need.
Correct. And if it's being done by a customer service guy, instead of how we do it, we make sure that we hire technicians who've experienced the same kind of work that they're being aligned to in real life here in the Philippines. So they understand what is required and what goes into kind of the work that needs to be done.
Right.
Therefore, ordering the right thing.
So back to really global workforce being an enabler of a better process and a better technician experience. Let's say it's important to focus on the customer experience, but it's as important to make sure that you're giving your technicians a great experience, because that will impact their retention, their job
satisfaction.
It's just the technician just wants to do their job. They just want to fix the equipment. So
really like the desk job of
that's
to the their iPad, and requesting for parts, and then following up and checking if it's arrived and all.
Which gets me to the third big problem that you said, which is delays in dispatching the job when the part has been procured. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So one of the other problem is the communication between these teams, right? And while the parts procurement team has ordered the part, someone needs to track if the part has been dispatched, has been delivered to the warehouse, making sure that the technician is notified, the dispatch team is notified, so that the job is then kind of scheduled for. So that's another critical aspect of the kind of the entire process. Therefore, we need to efficiently use the ERP so that they're
ideally, ERP has a notification system, right?
Enabling that. Because sometimes, most of the ERPs are not being utilized to its potential.
You're right. You don't have the feature enabled.
So making sure that those are enabled, the right teams are notified, and once a dispatch team is notified, they schedule the technicians faster. So that kind of improves, again, your first time fix rate,
So investment in technology here really is very, very important, but also you can utilize more visual management, like a dispatch board, a Kanban board, where you see where the work order, if your ERP allows you to do that. Or you can extract that data and then create like something in the spreadsheet or Power BI dashboard or something.
I mean, if it's a few, you can manage it from Kanban, but if you have hundreds and thousands of job, in your dashboard, it's difficult to do it visually.
Right.
And you need alerts, right?
So, but and it's at the service manager level and all of that. So
it goes down to, like you said, a dispatcher level or a district manager level.
Yeah. So, and what impact does this have on the service experience? I mean, obvious. Some of it is very obvious, right? If your part has been procured, but you haven't dispatched a technician, the equipment is down, right? So your service
problem, right? Your uptime suffers. There's loss of production for your end customers, and your reliability goes down because you're taking longer to fix.
So your reputation really, and you see it in a lot of the reviews.
Correct. Yeah.
The delays in resolving equipment is one of the biggest contributors to negative customer review.
The customer perceives that your technicians are not aware of what they're doing. They feel that they are not knowledgeable.
Right.
And it's a perception that you guys don't know what you're doing. That definitely impacts the customer, right? And your reputation.
It's really a very rich topic, and I'm really keen to hear from supply chain managers from you. If you're a supply chain manager or you touch the parts ordering and research function, I'd love to hear from you. Do you see some of the same problems that we're talking about here today? Do you see some other problems? Do you measure success differently? I'd love to hear from you and work together on building a playbook on how you can achieve operational excellence when it comes to procuring parts and researching parts, so that we can get the job done faster, better, and cheaper. And always, I would love your feedback. Thank you for tuning in. This is another great episode, and again, I'd love to do a more deep dive into parts, the procurement process, especially that procuring parts touches other work streams like your procure to pay. So Mario, looking forward to another episode to continue on with our series of the 5-star service experience. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode.